The Great Flood, Part 1. The flood was 40 days on the earth. The water grew higher and floated the ark, so that it was lifted up off the earth. Genesis 7:17. Imagine if God told you to build the biggest boat in the world. Would you build it? You would probably shake your head and say, "No way, that's impossible. I could never build something like that." Well, God gave a man called Noah those very instructions. Even though Noah didn't understand God's big plan, he said yes. God saw that people on the earth had become very wicked. They stole from each other, worshipped angels, and mixed animals together to make strange new species. God was very sad. This was not what he had designed. "The earth has become too violent," said God. "I am sorry that I ever made them." He came up with a plan to wipe out everything on earth and begin again. A race of giants called the Nephilim had also appeared. They were the children of bad angels and human women. The Nephilim were huge and nasty. But Noah was different. He had a great relationship with God and didn't behave how other people behaved. He was faithful and obedient. One day, God said to Noah, "People are not following my ways. I am going to flood the earth and start again." Noah couldn't believe his ears. God was going to destroy everything? He told himself that God must think the earth was pretty wicked. But God had more to say. "I want you to build an ark," God told Noah. "It needs to be a ship big enough to fit lots of animals. Build it 300 cubits long, 30 cubits high, and 50 cubits wide. Then cover it in pitch." Noah scratched his beard. This boat was going to be enormous. He looked up and squinted at the bright blue sky. What was God up to? You see, Noah didn't know what rain was. He'd never fallen asleep to the sound of raindrops splashing on his roof. And he didn't even own a raincoat. When God created the earth, he had made a mist that rose from the ground and watered the plants. Why would water need to fall from the sky? "What about my family?" asked Noah. "Will you spare them like the animals?" "My flood will destroy everything," replied God. "But you have nothing to worry about. I will keep you and your family safe." Noah breathed a sigh of relief. He liked his family. But Noah was still curious. After all, he had never built an ark before. "Follow my instructions," said God. "I will tell you what to do." Noah and his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, were very smart. They knew how to make many things, just like people do today. They chopped down trees for the hull and carved stones for the anchors. They made nails out of iron and mixed huge barrels of thick glue to help everything stick together. When everything was finally ready, Noah and his sons began to build the ark. They followed God's instructions very carefully, and the ark grew bigger and bigger every day. Noah's neighbors stared in fascination at the gigantic boat. They had never seen a boat so big. "Did God really tell you to build this ark?" "Come on," they laughed. "You're wasting your time, you old fool." Noah glared at his neighbors. "If you put your faith in God, you can join us," he replied, hammering the iron nails into the deck. But his neighbors continued to mock him and wouldn't listen. "We don't need God anymore," they bragged. "We have the angels to guide us." Noah and his sons ignored the laughter and kept building. They built 3 decks for the animals and a special door for them to walk through. They built cozy rooms for themselves to sleep in and a big window so it wouldn't get smelly. Lastly, they built a wooden roof and covered the boat in a sticky black pitch to make it waterproof. Finally, Noah and his sons had finished. They put down their tools and gazed up at the mighty ark. They had never seen such an awesome boat. Noah and his family were about to begin the biggest adventure of their lives. Part 2. Noah knew it would be a long trip, so he made sure he had enough food to feed everybody. He collected grain and hay for the animals, as well as dried fruit, vegetables, and fish for his family. Noah's wife had been preparing meals for years, so she knew they had plenty to eat. Then God told Noah, "Take your family inside the ark and get ready. I will round up the animals and bring them to you." Noah's family looked nervously at each other. What had God planned next? Well, they picked up their bags and followed Noah silently into the ark. Noah sat patiently beside the front door and waited for the animals to arrive. Soon, thousands of animals gathered in front of the ark, pushing and shoving each other for position. They roared, growled, and squawked and grunted. Imagine how noisy it was. Noah's mouth dropped open. There were so many strange animals he'd never seen before. "God, where do I start?" he cried, burying his face in his hands. He was very thankful for God's help. "Take 7 pairs from every kind of clean bird and animal," said God. "From every kind of unclean animal, only take 1 pair. After 7 days, I am going to send water on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. Noah stood in front of the ark and counted the animals. He chose 7 pairs from every kind of clean animal. From every kind of unclean animal, he chose only 1 pair, just as God had told him. Then he led the animals up the ramp into the ark. There were giraffes, and elephants, anteaters, and armadillos, cats, and monkeys, and bears, and hippos. There were more types of animals than Noah could count. They all followed Noah into the ark. When the animals were all inside, God shut the door. None of Noah's neighbors had turned to God. They had all chosen to do things their own way. Suddenly, the sky turned dark. Thunder rumbled through the thick black clouds, and lightning streaked across the murky gray sky. The floodgates of heaven opened, and it began to rain. It rained and rained. Noah's friends and neighbors stared into the sky. "Where is this water coming from?" they asked each other. Maybe Noah was right. The earth began to shake and crack like an egg. The fountains of the deep burst open, and water erupted from under the ground. The people became very frightened. They pounded their fists on the ark, begging to be let in. "Open the door, otherwise we'll die." Noah wiped a tear from his eye. Oh, he wished with all his heart that the people had put their faith in God. "Friends, I warned you about this, but you thought I was crazy," shouted Noah. "You didn't believe I was hearing from God? Now it's too late." It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Water kept erupting from under the earth, and the floods grew higher and higher. Inside the ark, the animals were tossed about like clothes in a washing machine. It was very noisy and very scary. Noah's family could hardly hear themselves think. Noah hurried up the stairs and poked his head through the window. Water stretched as far as the eye could see. The hills and valleys had all disappeared. Noah shivered and wrapped his cloak tightly around him. He realized the only people left in the whole world were his family. "Please protect and deliver us through this storm," Noah prayed. Part 3. Finally, the rain stopped and the fountains of the deep closed. A gentle wind blew over the earth, and the waves became as calm as glass. Everything was very quiet. Noah and his family peered over the side of the ark at the muddy waters below. It was as though the whole earth had vanished beneath them. Oh, they thanked God for keeping them safe. "It feels like we've been in this ark forever," sighed Shem. "When do you think the water will disappear?" Noah smiled at his son. "Don't worry," he said. "God hasn't forgotten about us. Just have faith. He will sort things out." From then on, Noah's family stared out the window every day to see if the water was going down. But every morning, the water still lapped against the sides of the ark. One day, as Noah and his family were eating breakfast, they saw a piece of rock in the distance. "The water must be going down," cried Noah excitedly, pointing to the mountaintop. "What?" Shem and Ham rushed over to the window and stared at the dark, rocky mound. They almost couldn't believe their eyes. "It's true! God really hasn't forgotten about us." A few months later, the ark finally came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Noah flung open the window and stared down at the ground, but all he could see were bald, rocky hills poking out of the water. Noah chose a large black bird called a raven and sent it out from the ark. It flew back and forth, waiting for the water to dry up from the earth. Noah grew tired of waiting for the raven to come back, so he sent a dove next. The dove couldn't find anything to eat, and its stomach grumbled. It flew straight back to the ark, where it knew there was plenty of food. Noah waited another 7 days and then sent the dove again. This time, the bird came back with a freshly plucked olive leaf. Noah's eyes lit up. "This means the water has finally gone down," he cried. He sent the dove out once more, and this time it never returned. Noah and his sons opened up the ark and gazed around at their new home. "The soil looks dry," said Japheth, grinning at his mother. "Maybe we can grow fresh vegetables again." Noah's wife clapped her hands. Although she was thankful for God's provision, she was tired of eating bread every day. She couldn't wait to make her family a proper meal. God told Noah to take all the birds and animals and leave the ark. Noah and his family looked nervously at each other. Oh, they were happy to leave the boat, but the flood had destroyed everything. How would they live in this strange new land? It seemed as empty as the wind. The animals scrambled to their feet and stretched their legs. Oh, they'd been on the boat for a long time and couldn't wait to roll around in the fresh green meadows. One by one, the animals ran down the wooden ramp and out into the midday sun. Noah wanted to thank God for keeping his family safe through the flood. So he gathered a pile of rocks and built a large stone altar. Then he took one of each clean bird and animal and sacrificed them to God. God was very happy that Noah had obeyed him through this big adventure. He said to himself, "Never again will I curse the earth like this or destroy every living thing. As long as the earth is here, seasons will come and go, and day and night will never stop." After that, God blessed Noah and his sons, saying, Noah, have lots of children, so your descendants will live all over the earth. Noah smiled. He liked the idea of having a large family. He planted a vineyard to celebrate. God also had a promise for Noah and his descendants. He said, "I promise to never again destroy all living things with a flood. As a sign that I keep my promises, I will put a rainbow in the sky." Noah and his family were happy. They knew that they could trust God. God's words last forever. Whenever you see a rainbow in the sky, remember that God always keeps His promises.